Pull up your chairs. We're going to talk about this cash money. We're going to talk about taxes, wealth redistribution. Are they in the Bible? What does the Bible mean that the poor will always be among us? Who's supposed to take care of the poor? Am I supposed to tithe? Does my tithe go to the poor? Let's roll. Hey everyone, welcome to the Pastor's Hangover. My name is Melissa, and each week we dive through, and there are sometimes questions that keep your relationship with God kind of cloudy, so we're going to clear up the hangover.
Yeah.
We're going to clear it up, and
like
we are going to answer
that.
your questions and make sure that you guys have total clarity. So we have Pastor Hal Mayer,
Hello.
Pastor Craig Altman,
Good morning.
and Pastor Daryl Black.
Here we go. Let's do it. Let's
Welcome
jump
to
in.
the show.
Have we named the baby yet? I'm serious.
Have we named the baby?
Not yet.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I
Not
know
yet.
that we had the gender reveal, but
Yeah.
the names we haven't named
We're
yet.
23 weeks today.
Wow.
23
awesome.
weeks. Wow.
It's
So,
going by fast.
3.
all right.
We had-
so when
now-
are you naming
yeah.
the baby?
We had a baby pool. Are we going to have a name pool?
Yes,
Yeah.
of
We're going
course.
to pick names.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Ed said he was going to call you and you guys would pray
yeah,
about it.
Ed, yeah. I tell you, I think Hezekiah is a good name.
Ooh,
Okay.
that is a good one.
Hezi,
Habakkuk.
Little
Habakkuk.
Melchizedek.
Melchizedek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good, strong biblical name.
That's a good strong.
Meshach,
Me. Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Abednego.
Azariah. Hey,
Wow.
there's tons of them.
Good names out there.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry about him getting bullied? Or
No, people wouldn't even know
But
what they
you
mean.
notice they don't name him Judas anymore?
Yeah, there's no
Judas
Judas.
Iscariot. I
No.
mean, there's never that Judas name, or no one names their daughter Jezebel anymore
Nope.
either. If
No.
you did, I just offended that person.
anymore? Like, did people ever?
well,
apparently.
Just-
Oh, yeah,
just-
apparently, yeah,
I guess
at a
there
time.
was.
Before
That was-
Jezebel,
yeah.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a whole
Or
lot of
Delilah.
Benedict-
I've heard
Benedict
Delilah because
Arnold.
Q105.
Yeah, she had that late night.
Yeah.
She has the
deal.
Delilah thing
With the voice.
So yeah,
My wife said her mom used to put it on at night, like to settle everybody down, and they go to bed.
Oh.
she has that
The slow
soothing
jam.
voice.
Is Delilah
She's
still
still
going?
going.
she's
I
still
think.
going.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, she's got the voice for radio.
I don't know
podcast
who
is
you're
gone
talking
in
about.
an area.
Oh,
Soft
it's-
Rock
it's-
105.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love songs, all that good stuff. All right.
That's- I don't know where that
So
went. That just kinda
what'd you do
took off.
Valentine's? I heard you went to Chipotle or something for.
Yeah.
You went
Chipotle.
high level there.
No, me and my wife, we've never celebrated Valentine's.
Really? Because every day's a Valentine.
Exactly.
Oh, Lord.
Never.
Oh,
Some
Here we
people
go.
ask, what did you do for your wife Valentine? Nothing.
Yeah.
We've never done it. It's
Nothing?
nothing.
you gave her a big shout out in your message. You said,
Yeah, because I
Oh,
love
sweet.
her.
Yeah.
But I do that. I buy her flowers. When I found out my wife liked flowers, I just buy her flowers.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't need Valentine's Day. I don't need a birthday. I don't need. It's because it's Tuesday.
Wow.
I bring
Wow.
flowers to the house.
I
And
went the
love-
next, and then I went the next level from that. When I was dating Debbie, because I didn't have a lot of money, I couldn't buy roses every week, so I actually had a rose bush. I planted and give her roses off.
All
of there.
right. See, that's smart.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Look at that.
I did.
That's
No
That's
joke.
very
That's actually
romantic.
It was my mom's rose bush, I think. But
Yeah, I was about to say, was it somebody else's rose bush?
That's like cost
That's awesome.
effective. That's
Hey,
good.
we don't believe in Valentine's Day either. So, but it's also really close to our anniversary. So,
2 for 1.
Ours too. Our anniversary is February 24th.
Come on, man.
So
How many years?
What?
it'll be 27 years this
Come on,
year.
man. Awesome stuff.
Wow.
27.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm only at 19.
Young man.
Yeah,
I'm
come on, man.
45 in June.
awesome.
Yeah, it's old. I should have
man.
said
That's
that
insane.
because I know I
Bro.
look 50. So that means
Yeah,
I got
you-
married when I was
You're
5.
looking good, man. You're looking good.
Whoa.
Okay, let's get into it because people are going to love this subject.
Yeah.
By the way, can I preface unbelievable message? You've missed
Oh,
it.
man.
We're on a series on money,
Yeah.
and Daryl does such a great job talking about the tithe, and I highly recommend people go watch it. It was really good, seriously.
Yeah. It was about the tithe, the mindset, putting
mindset.
money in its place
Yeah,
is what it's
priority,
called,
yep.
right? Who is the ruler in your home? What is the ruler in your home? Like it covered the whole gambit.
Yeah.
Can I put you on a just, this is unrehearsed.
Yeah.
So why do people get so uptight, man? We talk about money, and you mentioned the rumors. I mean, man, I'm just curious. What are your thoughts behind that?
Yeah. I mean, money has it attaches itself to your soul.
It's emotional.
Yeah, it becomes very emotional. It becomes, like you said before, it's the last thing we baptize.
Yeah.
Because money just, we want it so bad, and because it has such a goal for us, we're driven towards it. And and there's pride, and there's greed, and there's insecurity, and that's all that stuff. And it's the highest level or the highest tool that we use for comparison.
Yeah.
Comes with money. And so anytime that you're comparing somebody, it usually always starts off with money. Man, they have a bigger house, they have better clothes, and it starts from childhood. And I think sometimes parents do a poor job of talking about money with their own kids.
Yeah.
Even saying stuff as simple as, we can't afford that. That already creates this a different psychology in a child's brain when you say, we can't afford that.
Wow.
So immediately they start thinking, okay, if I have more money, then I can do more things.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and you may be a family that said, man, we can't afford that. Change the language and say, hey, we're going to work towards something different. Or we're going to try something. Hey, you want this? That's good. What can we do to make sure we get it?
You brought up a great key. Teach your kids about money early, especially the biblical way.
Yeah.
We did that with our kids early on. And
And I would say it's not that we don't want that. It's just we value this more.
Yes.
It's we want to use our money to do this rather than just spend it on this. I mean, that's the thing. It's both and. It's helping your kids understand there's greater value in some things than in other things.
And you can enjoy it. I think you said the key for me was in Timothy it says it's the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not. Money isn't evil.
Yeah.
It's neutral, but it's how we allow it to use us or control us.
Yeah.
And we don't need to love it. We need to use it. We love people.
Yeah.
And we use money as a tool.
Exactly.
So good stuff.
We're created to worship. That's the thing. We're created to worship. And anytime we don't worship God, we're actually worshiping the gift he's given us.
Yeah.
And what the biggest problem that happens is we love to worship the gifts he's given us instead of the one that's given it to us.
Yeah.
And so not understanding that everything we have is from God. And it is, like you said, it is the one thing we have that we can truly control the things around us with.
Yeah.
And so it has a lot of power to it. And so it's very easy to put our trust in money because I see the direct results of it rather than putting my trust in God.
And if you compare, you're going to always lose. No matter how much you're making, someone will always have better, bigger, richer. They're always going to have more. A comparison game is an awful game to play.
Yeah.
It really is. You never win at that. You ever feel that way? I mean, I remember one time Debbie and I, in our little house, we loved our little house.
Yeah.
I mean, one day we said, hey, even though we couldn't afford it, I said, let's go look at model homes. Worst mistake we ever made. We go out and look at model homes. We come back, we're not content anymore.
Yeah.
We're like, we live in a shack because we compared.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's just
There's
amazing.
always this sense that, man, God is not taking care of you. There's something more. I mean, it is the story of Adam and Eve. It is. They're living in a perfect society.
Yeah.
They're living in Eden, and then they were convinced that maybe God left something out.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more for you that God didn't give you. And that's sometimes what chasing money does for us. But hey, maybe there's more for you. Like God is withholding things and God is jealous of you for some reason. No, God gave you everything that you needed, and it's not going to look the same for everybody. We just have to be better in managing what we got.
Really good. Isn't that one of the 10 Commandments? Do not envy your neighbor's, is it donkey or whatever? What is it's one of the
wife?
No, wife, but there's one that talks
Possessions?
about, maybe, I don't know. I guess I got to learn my Bible better.
The donkey, that was a red. I was like,
One of
okay,
them.
maybe-
I
don't
know,
think
but
it's-
in the 10 Commandments, the envy, maybe your neighbor's wife, maybe that was it.
Well, and I would say this: pay attention to what you're bringing in. I think there's so many things
Yeah.
from social media to, I would say, Pinterest. Like I remember my wife would get these incredible DIY ideas off of Pinterest. She'd do it in our house. It looked great,
Yeah.
but then she kept looking at Pinterest, and then she went, "Oh, I wish I would have done this." Or I wish. I'm like, "No, it looks great. Stop looking at that."
Yes.
Well, like stop looking at
comparing.
everything that we don't
Comparison
have.
kills, man.
Yeah.
And marketing is based on making you feel discontent.
Yes.
You watch them and go, I need one of those. We'll get to the questions in a minute, but we talk about learning to manage your lifestyle. You really touched on that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an income issue. It's learning to manage to live on less than what you have, which can be challenging.
Yeah.
Because my kids started that. I remember they were 5 or 6 years old. I've told this story many times. We didn't go out to eat that much, but when we did, went to McDonald's one day. That was back during the Happy Meal days, and the Happy Meal came with all this other stuff, but they charge you $3 more for the same items.
Yeah.
And so we get in there, and Brent goes, I want a Happy Meal. I said, you don't need a Happy Meal. Well, Johnny gets one. When they go to McDonald's, said, number one, you're not Johnny. Number two, you're already happy. You don't need a Happy Meal. But your kids will pressure you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they feel like you're not being a good parent.
Yep.
And so, man, it goes to so many different levels. But again, that was a great message. You need to listen to it because it's not about the tithe. It's about managing all of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and the keeping up with the Joneses is so
Ooh,
real today
yeah,
more than
it is.
ever before. So yeah, be careful what you're taking in or
is.
what you're listening to on social media and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'll be touching a little bit on contentment, which I think
That's
is
good.
I mean, it's an attitude that somehow if we can develop that, it's going to save you a lot in the long run.
Absolutely.
Learning to be content doesn't mean you're not ambitious. We
Yeah.
can have ambition. We all want nicer, newer, better. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
But when that stuff controls you and your ability to honor God the right way, it's
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the first thing you said hit me the hardest just now, that money attaches itself to your soul.
Yeah.
Like that's why this is so emotional.
Yeah.
That's why people
Very
get so
emotional.
stirred up about it. And
Yeah.
that's why people leave in the middle of a message or,
Yeah.
they can't even sit with it.
Yeah, because it shows what's really, I said this is a message, it shows what's really first in your life, what really is a priority in your life. Because we can say, God is our priority until money.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about in church. We don't have a problem with talking about faith or prayer or other spiritual disciplines, reading the Bible, fasting. We're fine with that. But money becomes, hey, why are we talking about money?
Yeah.
Why do you want to? Why do you want to address my money? And it's clear God talks about money and stewardship more than he talks about anything else.
More than heaven, hell, anything. Yeah.
Heaven, health, faith, and prayer combined.
Yeah.
He talks about money because God recognized there's something that it just like if you could get a hold on this, you can manage your life.
Yeah. When you read that verse, you cannot serve God and money. I thought, and I wrote this in my notes, money is our biggest competitor.
Yeah.
That's what we compete with the most. It can really frustrate our lives. But let's get some practical questions, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not leading this. You are. I'm sorry, Melissa.
This is a team effort.
This is a team effort.
I like
Okay.
to call this a teaching model,
There you go.
the
Yeah,
four
I
of
like
us.
that.
It's
the four of us.
It's a
The four of us,
stretch,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay.
By the way, those who are new to the podcast, this is our teaching team. We rotate and speak every weekend at Grace. So this is the teaching team of Grace at this point.
And I'm their tag along friend.
You're great.
So,
The best moderator ever.
Ever.
So one of the questions we got that we're going to just dive into, Pastor Craig said about tithing, just start somewhere, right? But the word tithe means a tenth. So this is a little bit of a question that people have for you. Why would you consider it tithing if someone's giving 2, 3, 4, 5%?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like it should be considered a tithe.
Well, that's such a great point because really, biblically, Daryl brought up the whole tithe.
Yeah.
And I think that is God's goal. That's God's desire. That's the benchmark is the whole tithe, the whole 10%. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really have a Bible verse for this, and this is where the tension. And I want you to push back a little bit on me because I have found out in anything in life, if you want to start working out, maybe you can't run a mile, but why don't you start walking? You walk a half a mile, and maybe you can start walking a mile or push-ups. I want to do, maybe you can only do 10. Well, start with 10 push-ups, and as you develop that muscle, you'll be able to build up the more. And I feel the same thing about giving, especially for those who are so under the water. Their financial obligations to give 10% would be impossible because they have really mismanaged their finances. Now, for many, what Daryl said, the whole tithe, you could do tomorrow, but you got other issues, attitude, greed. These people are like, where do I start? And so years ago, I just said, you know what? I just think God honors a step. Start somewhere. Start somewhere with some type of obedience. Even if it is partial obedience, start somewhere at 2%, 3%. And I've had those same people come back to me 3 or 4 years later going, I'm at 10 now. Whether that's biblical or not, I don't know. But I actually still like Daryl's message better. It's kind of like going cold turkey. I'm going to slow down my smoking. No, you just need to stop and then start doing it. But anyway, Daryl, right?
I think here's where I would push back. Like I understand because there is a blessing to just being faithful doing something. And so there is something about training yourself in this new thought process and discipline. Say, I'm just going to do something. I wasn't doing anything, but I'm going to do something. But then I'll say, you're doing something, but it's not a tithe. You're doing something and keep doing that something, but it's not a tithe.
True.
And even when you say, hey, if you can't run a mile, you walk a mile. For me, the 10% is walking. The 10%, that is 10 push-ups.
Wow.
The 10% is the lowest of the low.
The starting line.
Yeah, that's the stuff. And I, from my perspective, I think God is going, man, if you can't do this, you can't say that you trust me. You're saying that your financial status or your circumstance or whatever is bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I think giving that 10%, while it may be scary and you may feel like, man, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah, that's the part you go, yeah, either I'm giving my whole life to God or I'm not giving my whole life to God. And sure, sanctification, that's part of sanctification and growing. That's a process. You're going to get better and so much more. But there's levels to giving. There is the tithe, then there's the offering,
right,
and then there's charitable giving, and then there's kingdom investment. And I think that's the growth process that we take.
Right.
But it starts with, what did God ask for?
Yeah.
I asked for this first, and to not give him what he asked for first says, well, you don't trust me then. And so for me, that's the challenge. It starts with the first step of trust, which is the same thing when you're coming to Jesus, give him your life.
Yeah.
Are you going to give me your life, or you going to give me some of your life?
Yeah.
I understand there's doubt. I understand there's fear. And Jesus says, I invite all of that. In the book of John, when the man brings his son to Jesus, who had a demon.
Yeah.
And the Bible said he's thrown himself in the fire and he's thrown himself in the water, and he brought his son to the disciples and they couldn't heal him. And then he brings his son to Jesus, and Jesus says to him, do you believe?
Yeah.
And he says, I believe, but help my unbelief.
Yep.
Yeah.
To me, if I'm making this a tithe thing,
right,
he's saying, I'm giving you my tithe, but I don't know.
Right.
It's like, I'm giving you my tithe, but I got bills.
Yeah.
I'm giving you my tithe, but I'm going bankrupt.
Sure.
I'm giving you, like, I believe, but help me in the area that I'm struggling. So I even think you've got to give all that struggle to God. You got to give to, my kid is sick. We don't know, the rent is due. The refrigerator's empty. I believe, but help me with this. And I think when you fully lean in, God says, as he says in Malachi, test me and see if I won't open up the windows of heaven and bless you that you don't have room enough to receive. And that's, for me, that's a jumping into the deep end.
It is.
God, I trust you. I'm not going to start in the shallow.
Right.
I'm going to jump straight in. Why? You're the creator of the universe. Yeah. If you can create the universe, I think you can pay my bills.
Yeah.
And even if it's not paying my bills, it's like, and I said this in the message, tithing is the first step of stewardship.
Sure.
It's not the only one.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to tithe and I'm going to let God show me how to do this. Right. I'm going to tithe and I'm going to get in community. Right. I'm going to tithe and I'm going to go to a financial freedom class.
Yeah.
I'm going to tithe and I'm going to be honest. I don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
And
strong,
tithing is that vulnerability of honesty. It says, I'm going to give it to you, and then I don't know what happens next. Yeah. But I'm going to lean into you to help me for what happens.
So how, be the referee, 10%, start 3. I mean, where do you, because I hear what Daryl's saying, that just surrender it all, go all in. But I'm talking about the reality person who they make $3,000 a month, but their bills are $3,600 a month. That's and that's the part that go, and I hear Daryl, I hear him, but just.
And I would say this, if you are going to start somewhere, set the plan to where you're going to get to where you need to be. Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of the people we're talking to, it's possible.
Yeah, to do just a 10.
I think it's possible. Yeah. I think there are some people that are in those scenarios where literally they don't have anything, or there's some extreme scenarios and stuff like that where you go, I'm going to start here, but I'm going to move there. Yeah. But I want to people to understand this. The reason we talk about this and the reason we harp on it is because we've seen the blessings of it.
It's the benefit. There's a benefit.
The benefit of it. Each of us could go around this table, and I know we've all shared instances of where God has provided. God has made things last longer than they should. Yep. Yeah. If you want to see an old truck, you can look at mine. Like it just makes things last longer. Things have gone further. And that's the reason why we are pushing this, is because we want you to understand this is a faith journey, and believing in God is not just believing he exists. It's believing that what he said works. Amen. And it matters. And so this is across everything. It's kind of funny because tomorrow I'm talking to our United about sex. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I'm saying is, guys, you can't see the future. You don't understand what marriage is going to be like. You don't understand what all this. I'm giving you these principles, and I need you to trust that what God says is
to protect you,
true,
to bless you.
Protect you, because your marriage will be better because of it. You will pick a better spouse. You will do this much better. In the same way, we're coming to you with something that's even tougher to talk about than sex, which is money and the idea that God wants to bless you. Now, I think you really do. You have to look at a hard look at this. If you literally have nothing left, then you have nothing left. But if you have the ability to start with 10%, but I need to give up this, you give that up.
Yeah.
Adjust your lifestyle to honor God.
God says, there are blessings on the other side. There's blessings when we put God first and when we follow after him. And so just understand, like, and the reason we talk about this, and one of the things you're going to get into even next week, is we want the Christian community to give because we want to reach more people.
Yeah.
Like if your tithe goes up, it doesn't mean our salaries go up. It means we start another campus.
Yeah.
It means we are able to do so much more. Man, we have dreams upon dreams of things we could do in Tampa, things we could affect, people we could help.
Yeah.
And really, it's whether or not we have the resources to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's that faith journey. So I would say, yes, I understand both. If you have the ability, absolutely. I think it's wrong not to.
Good stuff.
But if you are in that side of your bills are $3,600 and you make $3,000, that's, you got to figure out what you can give, but also go, God, I'm trusting you in this, and this is where I want to be by this time. And you continue to grow. And I think sometimes people can hear the 2 or 3% and go, well, I'm doing good enough because Pastor Craig, and they don't listen to everything you have to say.
Yeah, it's the first step.
Because we never get taken the wrong way.
Well, it's funny you say about adjusting. I think Daryl said something really key. Again, I can't say enough about the message, but many of us can do it. We just need to adjust our lifestyle. I remember Debbie and I, our first test, we were tithing, newly married, 2 old cars. I mean, old cars. Some of you have heard the story. Debbie's driving the old VW through the streets. It was wet. The rain had rained that day, and the mud went through the floorboard and got her wet. She comes home crying, "Where's God? This is going on. God's not providing. We got 2 old cars." It was a very discouraging time for me being the provider. And I said, well, he's here somewhere. And I remember we're going, I don't know how God's going to do this, but you know what? We said, I was tempted to go buy a car, but that monthly payment would have taken my tithe away. And I had to make a decision. Like you said, am I all in or not on this?
Yeah.
Thank God we didn't cave into that temptation. And miraculously, 3 or 4 months later, God provided.
Yeah.
But you'll never experience the faithfulness of God if you don't step out there. So I agree with what you're saying, but there are still some that I go, but good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I don't wrestle with it, but I think I'm always going to push. The society, not the society, the culture that I grew up in.
Yeah.
I watched people who didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And then I watched them say, I'm going to give. And I saw their lives change. Like just change. I mean, I've been
so
tithing.
good. Me too.
I've been tithing I was tithing before I was saved.
Yeah.
It was such a principle in our home that this is what we do.
Yeah.
That when I was a kid going to Sunday school, my parents would give me money to go, this is your tithe. Go make sure you give that. So I was just in the habit of going, this is just what you do. God deserves this. And then when I got older and became my own money, I remember getting my first job at church, and I was the janitor, and they paid me $30 to clean the church and cut the grass and all. So $30, and
Can we hire you now? That's a good deal for us.
Yes, I know.
A day?
A day.
Okay.
And I was so excited.
You got $30 a day
to go.
But that was once a week.
It only took one day to do it.
Yeah.
I was so excited to take my $3.
Yeah.
And say, I'm giving my tithe. I made
I'm good.
giving. And one day I was so upset. The lady who would give me the money, she came to me one day and she gave me $27. So she took the tithe out and gave me $27. So I walk away and I open up the envelope and I'm upset. Because even though she knew that I was going to give the tithe, that's mine to give. That's not yours to take.
Yeah.
And it just became the principle. I want to make, this is a part of my worship. You don't get to take my worship. I get to give my worship. And I've watched God bless my life and my family's life because we made a commitment. God, I'm going to give to you first. When I didn't have money, I've given my tithe when I didn't have a job. I had money left over, and I said, I'm going to continue to give what I've been giving every week because I just believe that God is going to show up. And I ain't been rich, but I've never...
Every need
has been met.
That's so good.
Every need. A wife, 5 children, every need has been met.
It was funny. The Bible says God promised to meet your every need when we're a sower. It didn't say greed. It said need.
Exactly.
But at the same time, fast forward, I look at my life now than 20 years earlier. It's a much different life. I do have nicer things. I do enjoy. I can go on nice vacations. So there are seasons where you're having to adjust,
Yes.
but then the blessings of God catch up with you because He honors faithfulness.
Yeah, and the wisdom.
Yes.
When you're in the seasons, you go, "Hey, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can save, or I can move this, or
so good.
I have more contentment. I don't have to buy so many clothes.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to impress people.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like I'm content with what I got, and God has shown me how to manage what
So
He's
good.
given me. So
It's good. You got a question?
Yes, so many questions that I don't know if we're gonna get to. But I did want to add, I would say young people, from what I've seen, majority of the people I talk to, they're living above their means.
yeah.
And that's your tithe money. That's your excess. That's your giving. That's your sowing. What Pastor Craig just said, like the sower is blessed.
Yeah.
So you want the blessings, but you know, when Ed and I got married, we had one car. We paid $4,000 for it, and we drove it for 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, as long
Yeah.
as we could, until I ripped the bumper off of it. and
Well,
it didn't
it's
work
so
anymore.
often young people, we can try to young people can try things. They can try to live at the same means that they had at home when they
Yes.
start off in their
That's
marriage.
so
The
true.
idea is I'm going to keep the same, and that's not where your parents started.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And that's not where you necessarily get to start. So it's that, but it's also parents
Yeah.
having those conversations, helping them understand those things. You don't get to do that yet.
Yeah.
Well, that's
This
how
is
you're
after
raised
years.
depends
Yeah.
on some of that too. Yeah.
And it doesn't help
Yeah.
that they're trying to compare their lives to people on social media.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like all the stuff they see. Oh man, that person got a new car. That person they're in a fancy house. They're all this stuff. It's like, yo,
Yeah.
But when you're younger, if you can start when you're even at 25, you haven't been doing it wrong, man, you can start doing it right. And it's a lot easier hill to climb than waiting till you're 40, 45. I mean, I know people in their 50s that made great money but never created savings and retirement. Man, start early learning to do it God's way.
yeah.
Yeah. So another deep question that I think is really interesting that we got. The Bible says the poor will always be among us. What does God intend for our taxes and generosity, and who should take care of the poor?
Oh, I mean, the Bible is very clear. It tells us to take care of the poor. It's a responsibility of believers that we're going to take care of the poor because they are with us, and not just the poor, but it also talks about widows, and orphans.
Orphans, yeah.
And so it's part of our responsibility as the church. We're not leaving anybody out. There's a statistic I didn't mention in the message that 78% to 90% of the aid that the world has comes from a Christian organization.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're great examples of that. That's awesome.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it. Yeah. So all the great organizations that are providing food and clothing, they're Christian organizations. So what is it?
Sure. Compassion International.
Compassion,
all the One Hope. All
Red
these children's.
Cross, One Hope,
Samaritan's Purse.
yeah,
Samaritan's
all those
Purse.
things. It's so many of them, and it's like if Christians weren't giving,
Yeah.
78 to 90% in a given year is coming from Christian organizations. Forget about the denomination. It's just Christian organizations.
Well, that's right.
We recognize we have a responsibility.
And part of your tithe does that. So you
Exactly.
understand when
Exactly.
you tithe, we support Metropolitan, homeless ministry, sex trafficking ministry, global ministry, New Life Warehouse supporting the orphans, the foster system. There's so many things that when you do that, that's what our missions department is all about. It's we don't have the organization, we support those organizations to do it, to feed the hungry, to take care of the children, and But what was the other part of that question? Or was something else we didn't answer?
Taxes.
What about taxes?
Where should Christians stand on policies like taxes? And also, what about wealth redistribution?
Well, number one, about taxes, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. We should pay our taxes. Now, I think you should have wisdom and any kind of ways you can avoid certain. I mean, I want to pay less tax, but I want to do it all legally.
Yeah.
Right? So because some of my taxes, I don't agree with where it goes. But I still need to honor and give to Caesar's what is Caesar's regarding tax. So taxes, Jesus is very clear. Biblically, we need to pay our taxes.
Yeah.
And I think the wealth redistribution question comes from Acts, some of the girls were talking about it at
Yeah.
a Bible study last night. And they were talking about, people pooling their resources and sharing them.
It was, but I would say this too, and this is one of the things. It's always you got to understand the situation.
Historical
they thought Jesus was
context.
about to come back in like a couple weeks, so they literally were like, "Hey, let's sell everything, form this commune because Jesus is about to come back." And then the church got a lot of persecution and it split, and they kind of realized it wasn't happening at that moment. Now, does that mean we all need to sell everything we have and just do it? No, that's not what it's saying. It's saying we need to care for those. Yeah. And you see later on them caring for the widows and orphans definitely first, and those that are in need and those that don't have the ability to take care of themselves. But it wasn't the idea that you just get rid of everything and form one big commune and become like, what is it up in Pittsburgh and up Pennsylvania, the Amish.
Amish, yeah.
Yeah. So that's not the idea. But yeah, it is that we do care for one another. It should be as a church that we go, maybe I may not do this so I can help the person that is in my small group or whatever it may be. I'm going to look to care for them or help them or those that are around me. So we should be looking to care for one another's needs. And actually what you see, first and foremost, the people that we take care of first are those that are in the church, and then we look outside the church.
Those in the household first.
Those in the household first, and then those outside the household. So it's first and foremost there and then outside, because what we want most is for those that are in the toughest situations to be in a community full of people that know and love Jesus and can support them.
People love seeing some of those verses that seem like it's a total redistribution of all wealth.
Yeah.
But then Paul says, if you don't work, you don't eat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he also deals with people that are not contributing, they're not, and he says, hey, there's only we need to help people and love people, but there's an accountability. No, you need to get a job too. Yeah. That's part of the whole.
Yeah, care and redistribution are not the same.
Very
thing.
good.
It's our responsibility as a community to care for each other and help each other. But wealth redistribution, that's a social, secular thing that they're trying to say. This is what it was in the Bible. No, that's not what it was.
Yeah.
What it was believers coming together saying, "Hey, we see our people in need, and we won't stand for it."
Yeah.
And so we're going to do whatever is necessary to make sure that everybody has what they need. It does not mean that everybody becomes on the same economic status.
Right.
It just means that if I got to sell my living room set to make sure that I can get you some money, boom, you got some money, but I'm going to go buy another living room set. It's like I'm not going to change how the money I have for you. I'm just going to help you because I can and because I care. And so let's make that definition. They're not the same thing, and that's not what God is calling us to.
Right. It's good.
That's super clear.
Yeah, and we can expect the world to respond to Christian values. So if the biggest billionaires in the world were also Christians, we could be having a conversation on what you should be doing.
But think about this.
But they're not. So
if 100% of every church in Tampa would tithe to their church, we wouldn't need a metropolitan ministry. We would have the funds to take care of the entire community. Yeah. Really, I'm just saying that would be.
There's a stat that said
if
just 50% of Christians paid their tithes, just across Christian churches and organizations, if 50% paid their tithes, we would end world hunger for 100 years.
Wow, I never heard that one. Wow, that's good.
That's how much money.
All right, I'll give you a stat that's kind of crazy.
Here we go.
This is an interesting one. I saw this.
I need to read more, I guess.
So. If we just took the amount of money, then this is going to hit some people in the wrong place, that we spend on pets, we could solve world hunger.
Oh, boy. You just lost half our audience.
And here's my deal.
A lot of dog and cat people out there.
It's not that I'm saying that. I'm not
not
saying your pet's not important. I'm not saying you don't love your pet. But I'm being serious. The stat is out there. Wow. If we just took the money we spent on pets in the United States, we would solve.
I heard that women would get. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to have fun.
I can see it going.
Here we go.
Already.
If women would only keep 10 pair of their shoes and sell the rest, we would solve world hunger.
That stat is not verified. That is just one.
Am I in trouble?
Greg needs to.
In trouble.
Oh man,
and I know
they need their purses.
None of you guys have pets.
I had a pet, we had a little dog. Funny story about that. I think sometimes we overindulge. Can I throw my daughter under the bus right now?
Go for it.
My daughter she lives 4 doors down, and grandkids, and they have a little puppy, and they do it nowadays. We didn't do this, Daryl. They take it to the place where they groom it and shampoo it and do the whole thing. And so, like every week, I was talking to my oldest granddaughter, and I said, I said, you can wash your own dog. She goes, you can? How do you do it? I said, yeah, we had a big steel bucket.
Yeah.
You put them in there and you wash them. It's like.
She was like, nope. Didn't even know that was a thing.
But that's money that we spend.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
man, and so sorry, Dara.
No.
Let your kids wash a dog. It'll teach them responsibility, chores,
Yes.
stuff
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not.
We're old school, Daryl.
Man. Go
not
go
against
do
pets,
something.
but I always like pets. My idea of like what kind of pet I should have is, can I leave it alone for a week with enough food and water?
Oh, then you like cats.
No, I don't like cats.
Well, then that's
Outside
the
of
only
cats.
ones that do that.
Small
fish?
pets.
A
Small
guinea
pets
pig?
get fish can do that.
You
Okay.
can do it.
Fair.
I've got those kind of pets
Yeah, so
at
those
my house.
I'm
And you
okay
can't
with
do
that.
that
I
with
have
kids,
I
right?
got
No, you can't do
squirrels.
that with kids. You'll get in a lot of trouble. if you
I
do
live
that
in
with
I
kids.
live in the woods, so there's squirrels and deer.
Melissa.
I never
Yeah.
got to feed anything.
Yeah.
You're about to have a kid.
It's
And you just
natural.
asked that
Yeah.
question. Can you
They
do that
didn't
with
hear
kids?
it. They didn't hear it. Let's
Yeah.
move on.
What?
I love it when people go, "Oh yeah, a dog is going to prepare me for kids." I'm like, "No, it's not.
No.
because your kid is not going to just go through the doggy door and go to the bathroom outside and come back in, and you just put a bowl out. It doesn't prepare you for kids.
I don't know. Some
We go
parents.
sideways, don't we?
Oh, yes, you guys
So
are.
how
I'm
we
sorry.
got
What
on
were we talking
pets?
about?
You brought it up. You started talking about pets and money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people are not tithing because they have pets. Is what
Yeah.
you just said.
Or too many
Really?
pairs
Wow.
of shoes. Yeah, that's
Wow.
what it is.
Yeah. Is that going to be the hook that draws people
I'm
in?
going to cut it all out so people still like us.
this is powerful.
at the end of the
All
day.
this needs to stay in. This is powerful.
Well, thank you guys. Any closing thoughts? I think the common theme, as we talked about, money attaching to your soul, money controlling your life, like the word control. Are you trusting God with your life? Or are you trying to control your life? And if you're trying to control every aspect of it, then you are going to always be in that lack mentality. You are never going to
Yep.
feel like you're at peace. You're never going to feel content. You're never going to be able to live out of abundance because you'll always be mentally in a place of
So
lack.
good.
Yeah. That's
So-
it.
Again, back to Daryl's message, the greatest peace you'll have is when you prioritize and do things God's way.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean you have more, but you have peace about what you have because you're learning to do it God's way.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. Faith in God is not just believing he exists. The demons believe that. It's
Yeah.
believing that though his ways are the best ways.
Yeah. It's good.
And giving is it's not a transaction. It's worship.
It's good.
It's worship. It should. I mean, trusting. You have to trust that God is enough, no matter what's in your bank account. Whether you're rich or whether you're poor. What is it? Psalm 30. The man in Psalm 30 says, "God, don't give me less, so that I'm mad at you, and don't give me more, so that I forget about you."
Yeah.
I just want to be content. I want to be able to worship you with anything that I have. And so that's what we got to remember, man. Trust God no matter what it looks like on either side, and God's going to take care of you. That's it.
Amen. Well,
All right.
thank you guys for being with us
Yeah.
for another episode of the Wild Pastor Sangover. And
Yeah.
thank you all for still
Yes.
listening. And
Yeah.
we will see you next week. And we're going to see you for Pastor Craig's message this
Yeah.
weekend.
It's gonna be good.
Really excited
Really
about that.
encouraging. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you
See you
all
there.
next week.
Bye.